Hello, everyone. Welcome to Ad America TV. My name is Anton. I'm one of the e-guides here at Ad America. And Ad America is the U.S. Embassy's American Center here in Jakarta, and our mission is to provide a space for young Indonesians to learn more about the United States. Welcome to tonight's episode of Ad America TV, Festival Musik dalam Layar, Stronger Together. For those of you who are into music and would like to study music, this is the event for you. And before we begin tonight's event, I would like to start with an icebreaker question. And the question for tonight is, which American musician will hold a record release live stream at the Forum in Los Angeles on October 2nd? Is it A, Corey Taylor, B, Randy Blythe, C, Jonathan Davis, or D, Howard Jones? I'll repeat the question one more time. Which American musician will hold a record release live stream at the Forum in Los Angeles on October 2nd? Is it A, Corey Taylor, B, Randy Blythe, C, Jonathan Davis, or D, Howard Jones? You can answer this question on the comment section of our social. Without further ado, to start tonight's event, I would like to give it to our moderator, Santika Salim, our very own Education USA Ad America advisor. Please take it away.
Thank you, Anton. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday with us. Welcome back. If this is not your first time attending Ad America events, welcome. And if this is your first time, coming to Ad America events, or even, you heard about Education USA, but you never, talk about, get to know it more, then I'm here to tell you more about it. So those of you who are watching from our social media platforms, don't be shy. You can ask any questions in the comment box so that we can answer your questions later on. So today's event will be two parts. So the first part will be, the concert. And then after that, we will have a talk show, a very interesting one that we have two PhD candidate and one professor from the university directly. So if you, have interest in studying music in United States, stay tuned, watch the concert, enjoy the music, and then stay back for a talk show and a Q&A section. And okay, so a bit about me. My name is Santika. I am one of the Education USA advisors in Ad America. So Education USA is U.S. Department of State. So we are Departemen Luar Negerinya Amerika. What we do is guiding everyone who wants to study to the United States, regardless of the program and level of study that you want in the United States. We give you useful, events in Ad America platforms as well. You can check us out there on our website. I'm sure you have seen them. So the events could be like, how to write your essay, how to build a strong CV, those that we have on monthly basis. But we also had IELTS introduction before, and then TOEFL IBT is coming up. So if you have interest on those, register yourself. And all of the, the guidance and events are for free. So you can come to us, to Fina or me, Education USA to ask for as simple as something like, can you read my essay? Can you give us an input on our essay, and take a look at my CV or resume if this is the correct format to be submitted, for your university application. So things like that. As long as you are going to US to study, bachelor, master, or PhD, we are here for you, and all the way and for free. Okay. So you can go to our website, atamerica.org.id. And there is a dedicated tab of Education USA if you are interested. If you want to go to our Education USA website directly, you can also do that. educationusa.state.gov. There you can find all of the information that you need on how to contact us. All right, so before we start the concert, I want to thank everyone who, make this happen, because this is so great that, you can enjoy music from your home, because we are facing the pandemic right now, but we should still, hang in there and do our best to enjoy ourselves. And I think this music is, one of the ways to make yourself feel better. And I hope everyone is staying safe. All right. And without further ado, please enjoy the concert from your home.
Selamat malam, selamat Selamat datang di Festival Musik Dalam Layar episode kedua bersama saya Putri Manjo. Festival ini terselenggara berkat dana hibah dari One Beat Accelerator Amerika Serikat. Malam hari ini kami akan menghadirkan 3 penampil, yaitu Salim Violin, Rangga Purnama Aji, dan juga Wake Up Irish. Untuk memulai malam hari ini, penampilan pertama akan dibuka oleh Salim Violin, yaitu duo dari Riau yang akan membawakan musik bernuansa Melayu yang kental namun masih dibalut dengan gaya milenial. Seperti apa penampilan dari Salim Violin? Ini dia. Selamat menyaksikan.
Oke, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah, terima kasih sebelumnya kepada tim kurator Festival Musik Dalam Layar, Pak Jai dan kawan-kawan yang telah memilih kami sebagai penampilan kategori duo atau duet. Saya Salim Violin dan teman saya Dwi Argi pada akordeon akan membawa satu karya kami yang berjudul Merajut Selaut Mimpi. Selamat menyaksikan. Terima kasih dan enjoy.
penonton untuk berdonasi langsung melalui inisiatif-inisiatif yang mendukung dan membantu para pekerja kreatif di Indonesia. Salah satunya adalah APPBI Peduli Pembatik. APPBI menggalang dana lewat kanal kitabisa.com untuk disalurkan kepada pembatik di Jakarta dan di Jawa Tengah. Untuk memberikan donasi, silakan menghubungi narahubung dan atau melalui kanal berikut ini. Oke, penampil selanjutnya adalah Rangga Purnama Aji. Ia adalah seorang komponis, musisi elektronik, penulis lagu, live coder, dan seniman digital dan juga video yang tinggal di Yogyakarta. Seperti apa penampilannya? Ini dia Rangga Purnama Aji. dalam Festival Musik Dalam Layar. Salah satu inisiatif lain yang membantu seniman selama pandemi COVID-19 ini adalah dana peningkatan pengetahuan dari para dance yang membantu seluruh penari di Indonesia untuk dana peningkatan pengetahuan. Untuk berdonasi, langsung saja menghubungi melalui kanal di bawah ini. Oke, penampil selanjutnya yaitu penampil ketiga dalam Festival Musik Dalam Layar episode kedua malam ini adalah Wake Up Irish yang berasal dari Malang, Jawa Timur. Proyek musik Wake Up Irish dimulai di tahun 2015 oleh Baik Paksi dan Fania Mariska. Terinspirasi oleh semesta besar dan semesta kecil di sekitar mereka, musik Wake Up Irish berisi harapan, semangat, keluh kesah, dan pemikiran yang kadang dilematis untuk hanya diucapkan saja. Seperti apa penampilan Wake Up Irish? Ini dia, selamat menyaksikan.
Halo, selamat malam. Kami Wake Up Irish senang banget bisa terlibat di Festival Dalam Layar. Kami akan membawakan 2 lagu berjudul Neve Libata dan Res Weber. Lagu-lagu yang kami nyanyikan adalah pesan-pesan dari semesta yang kami tangkap dan ingin kami bagikan juga dengan semangatnya kepada teman-teman semua yang mendengar. Kalau kalian mau dengar lagu kita, bisa kalian nikmati di berbagai streaming platform, juga ada di YouTube. Dan jangan lupa untuk subscribe YouTube kita, follow Instagram kita, dan enjoy the music. Just to please them alive. Stand on our babe. We are better than this, better than anyone else. To know what's best for us and to be who we really are. Let all free find a peace in the night. Don't let Can you see the forest calling home? Not so far. Can you feel the mountains missing you? Can you hear the voices of your heart calling home today?
Demikian penampilan musisi-musisi berbakat Indonesia dalam Festival Musik Dalam Layar episode kedua malam hari ini. Jangan lupa menyaksikan episode selanjutnya di hari, jam, dan juga kanal YouTube yang sama. Setelah ini juga akan hadir diskusi dengan tema pendidikan musik di Amerika Serikat bersama mahasiswa-mahasiswa Indonesia yang sedang menempuh studi di jurusan musik atau di jurusan yang terkait musik di Amerika Serikat, serta seorang profesor musik dari universitas di Amerika Serikat. Jadi tetap di sini dan jangan kemana-mana. Dan juga para penonton bisa ikut dalam sesi diskusi ini untuk bertanya jawab dengan para panelis diskusi. Saya Putri Manjo undur diri dari hadapan Anda dan akan diteruskan oleh rekan saya yang akan membuka sesi diskusi dan juga tanya jawab dengan para penonton. Selamat malam dan terima kasih. Sampai jumpa.
Okay, thank you everyone for staying and welcome back. So this is the second part of the event, which is the talk show. So I'm going to invite all of our speakers tonight. Professor Alex, he is teaching music and head division of creative studies and media in University of Minnesota. Hi, Professor Alex.
Hello.
Hi. So stay tuned. I will call the other two speakers. So we have Rizky Sasono. He's a singer or songwriter, currently taking a PhD in ethnomusicology in University of Pittsburgh. And last speaker today is Jay Afrisando. He's a composer and sonic artist, also a PhD candidate in music composition in University of Minnesota. Hello, Rizky and Jay.
Hi, Santika.
Hi.
Hello,
So
Sandika.
much, because it's very early there.
Yep.
So I think Alex and Jay are in Minnesota, and then Risky is in Pittsburgh. So it's what time there? It's very early in the morning, right?
Yes.
It's 8 a.m. now in Eastern Time,
Okay.
and I think
Yeah.
it's 1 hour before in
Yes.
Central Time in Minnesota.
Yes.
So it's early.
It's early, and I can understand if you guys still need coffee. So feel free to maybe if you want to grab a coffee while I talk with the other speakers. But yeah, it's very interesting to have all of you here tonight. I want to say tonight, but it's early morning there. So yeah, I want to ask you. This is a fun question that I just popped up into my mind. That are you guys more active at night, like all of those ideas to compose this music or anything that you want to do with your work just popped up when it's night, or are you actually a morning person? Or I heard a lot of artists is actually more active at night. So what do you think, Jay?
I'm actually more tired at night, but most of my ideas comes at the same time in the night. So
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you deal with that?
actually, I sometimes work at night or in the evening.
Mhm.
And continue on the next day.
Okay, so you just take down the ideas first and then continue in the next morning, right? Is that when you have most energy? All right, so that's just an ice-breaking question, just because I feel like all of us who's currently watching in from the social media, if you have any questions, this is a very good chance for you to ask in the comment box. You won't get like a second chance to talk with or ask direct questions to PhD candidate and the professor directly, especially in music. If you want to take PhD in the United States, most of the time you need to find the professor, try to connect with him or her, and that takes a lot of effort and time to research and everything like that. But today you have an honor to get to know the professor directly here. So Professor Alex, how are you today?
Good.
Okay, I know
Little
you.
tired.
Yeah, I would say you have to take care, especially during time like this. But I'm very happy to have you today to share, a lot of things about music that maybe I don't even know, and a lot of other, our audience don't know today. So I see that you are Jay's mentor,
Yes,
and you guys are in the same university and working together. Am I right?
that is correct.
Okay, that's great. So we also have Mas Rizky here. He is in University of Pittsburgh, and and he got. I remember he got the master degree from UGM. So if you guys and fun fact, Jay and Mas Rizky actually came from the same city, which is Yogyakarta. Yeah.
Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
Is that how you guys know each other? Do you guys know each other before planning this whole event, or how do you guys get acquainted?
Yeah, we knew each other before, even before went to the US, because I went to the US a year after that. But we know each other, before we pursued our PhD degrees. So yeah.
Interesting.
We're with the same scene, like when Jay plays or when I play, we see each other, or sometimes we played in an event together a few times, Shay.
Few times, yeah.
But it's a different. You two were not in the same like band or something like that. But it's just like, oh, Jay's here. Oh, Risky is here, just like that. Or how did that work?
We have different projects, but because the nature of like community in Jogja, we sometimes have some collaborations together. And I sometimes join Risky's project.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we are talking about, because Jay had your master degree in United States, right? So if we are talking about you guys met each other in Jogja and everything, that was during your bachelor studies,
Yeah, during my bachelor's. Yeah.
But it wasn't.
Alright.
It wasn't about our studies, because we met in the in the music scene. So it's all about playing and all about hanging out and everything. So
yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so it's more like because you guys have the same interest in music and doing music, that you guys happen to meet, because the community is just very supportive and close in Jogja, right? I'm hoping that's the same case with in Jakarta, but we have so many artists in Jakarta, and hoping that they have more interest to go to US to study music as well. And taking footsteps of your journey, and that's why we are sharing this, right? So yeah, my first question is actually, I cannot see Alex if he's still here. Okay, Alex is still here. Just slide it down. Okay, Alex, I have first question for you, because we are talking about music studies in United States. In general, what can music education in the United States offer to international students, and especially for the PhD? Is it and I know you have a lot of international students as well, so if you don't mind sharing them, please.
We have many. I think about half of my students are international, and mostly, but not exclusively, from Asia. This is partly, I think, because for Europeans, education in Europe, especially in the European community, it's really cheap. There's just not a reason to come. Although we have some European students, but we get lots of students from Asia. We've had a few students from Indonesia. Jay was not the first.
Okay.
Studying in different musical fields. I can remember going back many years, we've had students from Indonesia, but sparingly, just every once in a while. But I would love to have more. The thing that is so great about having students from Indonesia is that they bring whole new, fresh perspectives, the background of very rich musical culture that they bring. Programs in other Asian countries tend to be very influenced by Western curriculums, and the students are very often only interested in Western music, much the same as our American students are. But Jay in particular brought in this fantastic, open-minded, worldly perspective that was also deeply enriched by this fantastic Indonesian background.
Yeah.
Which is, I have not had any students ever who I've enjoyed more than Jay, and who's just fantastically accomplished, open-minded, diverse interests. Yeah. So if there are a few more like that, you're welcome to come. So please.
Yes, please reach out to Professor Alex, because he's looking for more Indonesian students, especially if you can bring in, your values of Indonesian music into, his department and his program, and maybe other universities and professors are looking for the same thing. So I like to remind all international students who come to us, mostly Indonesians, of course. I have a few advices from other countries than Indonesia, but most of our advices, of course, are Indonesian. So I want to remind you that you are bringing value to US universities as an Indonesian. So you don't have to like, okay, because I want to go to United States, I have to have this Western taste of music or whatever that you think you need to have to go there to study PhD and music or even master in music or music in general, like let's say bachelor. So you don't have to do that because like what Professor Alex here said, it's very important for you to bring your values, your culture. And that's what makes you, unique. And that's why international students are needed, right, Professor?
Yes. And also, I would say there's a lot of interest, and there has been for a long time in Indonesia, in the United States. I got personally, I might be a little bit exceptional in this, but got my first recordings of Indonesian music when they first came out 50 years ago.
Wow. And that's before
when I was still in high school. So I've been listening to the music.
Wow.
In the early 90s, I was working with a gamelan in Chicago.
So
we really value what you have. Not everyone, of course, but there are many people who want to learn from you.
Yeah. I was about to ask you about gamelan because it's just something that a lot of people know about music in Indonesia. Is like gamelan. That's like one of the things that I also share to Americans back then when I was studying, because they are so fascinated by all of this culture and music that we have in Indonesia. The fact that we have so many islands, and if you go from one to another islands, they already have different tastes in music. And I'm like, wow, that's mind-blowing as well. But yeah, you were saying, Alex, because you told me you have been teaching for more than 40 years. And so that was before you were teaching.
Yes, I started listening to this music when maybe the end of high school or the beginning of college.
Interesting.
But that's rare.
So I can say that all of you here really love music, and I would love to know, and I'm sure like all of our audience who is currently watching is also wondering like, how did you start choosing music as what you want to study, as your interest, as your passion? How did it start? Is it from your early age or something that triggers you or your experience in the past? I think I want to start from Alex as well, and then Jay, and then Risky.
I think it just catches people. I mean, it's really the only thing I ever wanted to do from the time I was very young.
Okay, that's nice. Yes. So
and you almost have to, because it's one of the few fields where you have to have a pretty expansive skill set, just to get into a program, an undergraduate program. Okay, there are not many 4-year-olds who want to be political scientists or chemical engineers, but there are a lot of 4-year-olds who want to be musicians.
Yeah,
and that they start their training very young.
Yeah, and they started young by playing those little piano and singing and chatting, but
or gamelan.
Exactly. Oh, you had gamelan. That's awesome.
No, we well, actually there were about 150 gamelans, and we have one.
Wow. Okay.
There are many, mostly Javanese, but some Balinese gamelans.
So it's in the music department in University of Minnesota, right? Okay.
Jay has played in it sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
But this gamelan shares with the community. There are community people who play in it too.
Yes, because you cannot. I think gamelan is something that you play in group. You cannot just like single person, and I think that's one of the unique value that instrument. So how about Jay and Risky? How did you guys get into music? Is it because you love it so much, or like Alex, music actually found him at his early age? Jay, Risky, who wants to start? Risky?
Well, yeah, thank you. Well, maybe just like majority of youth, we tend to like popular music, and that's what I was into during my high school and early college years. I listened to like punk music, metal, rock, and I formed bands, college bands, and that somehow it got serious. You still have that youth framing that, oh, okay, I want to be a musician, a rock musician, and it just went from there. Okay, we just went from there. But then I also have this. I was intrigued by how music was being discussed in the popular scene. I'm sorry, such as magazines, pop magazines, Rolling Stones Indonesia. We have that, and other pop magazines. And for me, it was like, okay, that's music journalism. What about thinking of music further than that? And that's how I got myself interested in the critical aspect of music studies. And somehow it just rolled from there and got me to pursue my PhD program.
All right. So it's just you love it, and that's how life brings you to your current positions, right? Okay. Thank you so much, Mas Rizky, for sharing. How about Jay?
I kind of have a similar experience with Rizky during my young age, that I love music, but just as listeners. Actually, I started to think about having a desire to be musicians actually late. I like the music scene in Jogja, and then I like different kinds of music there. And then I started to do my bachelor's degree in music, and there I started to see more and more diverse music, mostly contemporary music or newly created music.
Right.
But I started to also realize that there are some big discourses, issues in music technology and music disability, and that's how I got into my study here at the University of Minnesota.
Yeah, we will talk more in depth about your research and Mas Rizky's research, and also Alex current research, if you don't mind sharing later. But I'm just gonna start with a very general question, that what is like the main difference between let's say I'm going to take to study music in United States, but what is like the difference if I'm taking like bachelor or master or the PhD? Is it like, if I go for the PhD, is it more heavy on the research portion than if I'm choosing like to make the music, like the composition or the theory? What's like the main difference there, Alex?
Well, certainly you become much more specialized when you're in graduate program like the PhD than getting a more well-rounded education, but with some what we would call a major, which is something of a specialty. This is very different, I think, from education in a number of countries, where whereas an undergraduate or a bachelor student, you immediately jump into your field and you're completely immersed in it. But we have a tradition of what we call the liberal arts in the United States, so that everyone's degree has a diversity of subjects besides the specialty. Everyone, no matter if you're a chemical engineer or an anthropologist or a neuroscientist or a historian, needs to take at least one arts course. For that reason, I have this gigantic history of rock and roll course.
Right.
And Jay has taught that class with me. We get 1,000 students a year to take that class, because if your field is not music and you want to take a music course, you're much more likely to want to take the rock and roll course than a classical music course, a Western classical. So that's the nature of undergraduate education in the United States for the most part. Graduate education is very focused on your specialty. Our composition program is kind of unique in that in addition to composing, if the student chooses to do an extensive research component, that's also an option. There's always a research component, but the size of the proportion of the research component is up to the student. And sometimes we get students like Jay who have both a great interest in making music and a great interest in research as well.
Interesting.
And so that's a little bit unique in our program. A little unusual.
Right.
And
Thank you so much.
That is the major difference.
For sharing that.
Sure.
Yeah. So what I want you guys to know as well, that each music department in each university in the United States can have a bit of differences in a way, like, let's say, some of them can be more focused on the research on this and that, and the other can be the other one, it could be different. And that's why it's very important to find what you're looking for, like the best fit. That Education USA advisors always say, we want you to find the best fit, not because the university is so well known that wherever you go saying that university name, they will just know. No, that's not the case with us. We want you to find a program, a university, a professor, or your advisor who really, connect with you and know what you want to do and, have the same goal. So that way you will really enjoy what you are doing there, and then you will get the most of it. And Jay and Risky here is, the best example that I can give to all of you today. So I'll start with, because Alex already shared the differences and all of that, because it's quite unique in US. You can almost find anything that you are looking for if you are, keen enough to, dig deep into the details. And even if you cannot find the details on the website, you can just hit them an email on the admission office and ask them, like, hey, is this and that, or that, just to make it clear on your side and decide if you want to apply or not. I'm going to ask Risky and Jay on why you guys choose the program and the university that you are attending right now. So I'll start from Risky. What is your reason behind studying ethnomusicology in University of Pittsburgh, and how do you know that this is the suitable program for you? What kind of factors you are taking into account when you are choosing, some universities to apply to?
All right. So maybe I mentioned earlier briefly about my interest in popular music.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was my interest, and prior to coming to the US, me and my friends like to make a study group. We call it Music and the Society, but we didn't know what we were doing at the time. We just know that we know that music has something to do with the society. Music, the society consists of musical experiences. We get in Indonesia, in Jakarta, people play music everywhere, like, on the streets, in commercial stages and everything. So we made a study group based on that, okay, and that somehow rolled into me meeting other people who are interested in the same thing, okay, not necessarily scholars, but also scholars, and that's how I met, professors from IKJ, for example, in Jakarta, professors in Institute of the Arts in Bandung, and also like foreign scholars who are doing that. And once I went to an Aminef event that presented a few American music scholars. Some of the names are Philip Jampolsky, who did a research on Indonesian music for a long time, 3-4 decades, okay? And also Andrew Weintraub, who is known to do a popular music research. He did a research on Dangdut and Pop Sunda, for example, who became, now he is my advisor. So that circle of scholars that I was aiming for, Yeah. So and what the kind of research that I wanted to do, popular music, usually belongs to the realm of ethnomusicology. So, which is what I'm doing, which is my department. So, ethnomusicology previously was a study of music from other places in the world, aside from America or the Europe. So we're talking about music of the quote unquote others. Previously it was studying about the tuning system, the scales, how do you play the music, what are the instruments, but then it gradually looked also at the intersection between the music itself and the culture, the social life. So what does actually gamelan, what do people play gamelan for? If Alex mentioned gamelan earlier, what does it inform us on? And the field of ethnomusicology progresses into looking at cultures in a specific way. That's where popular music comes from. What are all these people listening to? Oh, they're listening to dangdut. Oh, they're listening to underground music, for example. So more or less, that's what ethnomusicology is covering. So, traditional music and also like contemporary music, such as pop music. On answering your question, that's my trajectory, how I get into ethnomusicology, and how ethnomusicology also values pop music. I mean, Alex was just telling us just now that he conducts class on rock music. So yeah, I mean, it's basically part of our everyday life as well. We listen to rock music, we listen to like contemporary stuff, and my research is touching on the underground scene in Indonesia. So that's something that I've been doing for the past 20 years or so. I was a musician in that scene, and also so I'm actually about researching my own friends actually. But I'm researching that in the perspective of politics. So starting with the rise of the independent music scene during the 90s, which intersects
That's very interesting.
The 98 political reform, but also politics in a different sense, like the politics of aesthetics. So and I can't tell you more because I'm still doing it. So probably you can have a general general thing that what I'm doing right now.
Okay. Would you say the research that you had, for your master's degree in UGM relates to, leads you to your current interests for your research?
So my master's degree from UGM was, I have to tell you this as well. So apart from being a musician per se, I also belong to a contemporary theater collective called Teater Garasi. So I do the music for the production, theater production, and so on. So my master's thesis at UGM looked at contemporary theater production when it was performed in Australia. It's called an Aus-Asia Festival. So I was looking at that. It doesn't have, I'm doing something else now in the music department at Pittsburgh, okay? But also it does help me to, in terms of theories, because performance theories, we're talking about these in anthropology and in theater, they're like intertwining, and there's also some theory synthesization in those fields. So yeah, when we're talking about music performance, you also can relate to theater performance or performance that we see every day in the everyday life. So it's helping out. Yeah, I don't think I'm doing different things here. I'm doing the same thing. Like this is okay. People may see it differently. I'm doing theater and music and research. No, I'm doing just one thing. It's all integrated.
Yeah, because I think for someone to really love music, they cannot just take parts. I want to do this part of music. I want to do this very specific part in music, and I don't want the rest, because I don't see that's the deal at all here. Because I see all of you here is doing like everything that you can for the music that you really love, right? So that's why you were saying you cannot just choose one. And Jay here also give a good example from what Alex said. He don't only choose to compose or to research, but both. And Rizky here also say that you cannot just pick and choose what to do. Like you even study history, and the reason why this instrument is created, or like the reason behind it, which is very, very interesting that you go into so deep for music. That I don't know, like music is kind of like everyday thing, but so rare that people look so deep into the meaning and the reason behind them and everything like that. So yeah, I think this your study is very interesting. And we'll talk more about the technical aspect on how you apply, what do you need to apply, and the funding and everything like that in just a minute. In a minute, after Jay shared how you choose to study in University of Minnesota. And I know that for PhD, correct me if I'm wrong, but you have to try to connect with the advisor or the professor first before you actually like apply for the program, because you want to know that if the professor is currently working with what you want to work. So is that the case with both of you? With Rizky?
I think I think that doing a graduate studies, faculty is a very important aspect. So it's not merely about which university am I going to. Some universities may have ranking, top rankings, but it really depends on the faculty, really. So what kind of faculty can cover your interest in music research, for example. So that was a thing that I noticed, or I know later. So I was, when I wanted to do a graduate studies before, I was looking at universities, which university does, music. But it's actually maybe some universities strength in music composition, and others in like, musicology, or some in jazz studies, for example, or some in ethnomusicology. Maybe Alex can also talk about this, but like in music departments comprise of different trajectories. So you, for example, in my University of Pittsburgh, you have musicology, and then you have theory and composition, jazz studies, and ethnomusicology. So it's a different trajectory, although some may, it's not rigid per se, like, you get students from musicology who that studies also ethnomusicology, and you get ethnomusicology students who learn about musical analysis from theory and composition. You get that as well. So it's much more of a thing there. But yeah, you do have to know, or you do have to get in touch with the faculty, and also the faculties also have their own, research interests. So that's why, like, I can't go to UCLA, for example, because this is just an example, because the concentration are in traditional music, okay? Whereas I'm more into popular music, so I have to find which university and which faculty that has interest in that.
Yeah. So that are just like, a few things that you want to take into consideration when you're choosing the faculty, the university. So know what you really want first, because that's very important. Otherwise, when you look around, you just don't know, okay, if you want to decide for this one or that one. Because if you don't know what you want to do, you just cannot decide, because there are so many options. Like what Rizky just said, if you want to do traditional music, then you can try to find a university like UCLA, because they are doing that, right? And if you are not, then it's not the right place for you. So
That was just an example.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I mean, if you're talking about traditional music, I mean, as also Alex said, there are like some 200 universities across the US that are doing, gamelan, for example. I mean, gamelan is more the canon form of traditional music in Indonesia, right? In the University of Pittsburgh itself, the gamelan ensemble has been around for 25 years and specializing in West Japanese gamelan, so Sundanese gamelan. And yeah, and even like it's becoming a culture in the US as well, because there's a book right now, a new book from an author that I know, Elizabeth Clendening, that is entitled American Gamelan.
Wow.
So you have American Gamelan is something else, because you get communities like in Buffalo, I know them, community in Buffalo, New York, that are playing gamelan, but it's outside institution, so it's like more of a community stuff, and you do get that a lot as well in the US. So consider that that some universities have gamelan, but there's there's a lot that you can choose from.
So thank you for the example, but I can tell you, some university, if you're looking at small universities in United States, some of them don't even have a music department. So that are the things that you want to know, like if they have a music department in the beginning, right? But I can say that so there's this native speaker. He went to Emory and he loved gamelan so much. He loves it, and when he was sharing his experience with prospective Indonesians with Education US events, he mentioned gamelan, and everyone is like confused, like gamelan, because he said it's there in my university, and I'm so intrigued, and I go to Bali just to get to know the culture as well. So that are the things that you can do more research on before you decide if the program is for you or not. And we can talk all day on that, but in the end, you will have to try to reach out to the faculty, like Rizky said. You need to know your interest before you reach out to them, because you'll have to tell them, look, this is my interest, and I see you have the same interest, and all that things, So let's go to Jay, because I really want to know how you choose University of Minnesota. I know that we talked before this, we talked with Alex that you guys actually know each other, not in United States, and maybe like, what you emailed to him on what you want to do for your PhD is not the first time you guys contact each other. So could you guys share on how you guys, like Jay decided, oh, okay, I want to do this research and let's do it together with Alex and things like that. How do you guys know each other in the beginning?
So as I said earlier, that I have my interest in new music, contemporary music, technology, and also music and disability. I compose lots of music and perform that as well, both as solo or also with my group in Jogja.
Right.
And in 2014, I had a chance to participate international workshop that allowed us to study Korean traditional music.
Wow.
And that's how I met Alex there. So so we had a chat together. And after the program ended, we kept in touch each other. and that's how and then I also shared my interest in my interest as well with Alex, and that's how Alex offered me an opportunity to work with him at the University of Minnesota, because Alex is a professor for composition, and also he does research in music disability for 20 years.
Wow.
And also Alex told me that at the university they also have a professor who is also an expert in music technology. And also the fact that the University of Minnesota also has an electronic music studio. So that's how I got a chance to study at the U.
Okay. So it's just they have everything that you are looking for, right? And what are the chances that you met Alex when you were in Korea for a training, right? And
for a workshop, actually.
A workshop, yeah.
Yeah.
So this is not my first time hearing, student met their future or current professor or advisor for the PhD. Not like you send an email and everything. It's just like you go to, a workshop or a project together where you work, and then you happen to know this professor who is teaching in certain university in the United States, and you guys just have the same interest, and then the offer came, right? And that's how you guys started the connection. But I want to let you know that you can also say that there are other students who saw this research paper that they use for their own research, and then they're looking at this professor. Oh, they're doing this. This is so great. And then they decided to look up the professor who they use as a reference to talk, and then they just connect and okay, let's take this PhD and do this together. Because that's I don't want anyone to look at just one way to get to know any advisor or professor that you want to work with, because there are other ways. If you cannot find the email, maybe you can find their website or anything like that, because you can always try another way, or maybe try to see if they are doing any projects, and you can try to reach it from there. Okay, thank you so much for sharing, Jay. And I think I will go to the funding next, because I think we have a lot of questions there. And when we talk about the university, I think that just connects. So in your case, Jay, I think for the master, you are also in United States for the master degree, and you got LPDP for that, right? And after that, you just continue for the PhD in University of Minnesota with Alex as a teaching assistant. But so you got the funding from the university.
Yes.
Okay. And I just want to clarify that here, if you got LPDP and then you finish your study, you are bound to go back to Indonesia for 2 years. It's called the 2 years home residency. And Jay is there because you already asked for the permission and everything to continue your study, right? Okay.
That's correct.
So how do you want to tell us a bit more on how you get this kind of funding? And of course, the first step is getting to know the advisor and everything, but how do you communicate this kind of, the financial need and support that you need to have in order to continue for the PhD?
Yeah, so in my case, at that time, in order to get funding for to fund my master's program, I had like a few options, like getting funding from university or getting funding from elsewhere, like LPDP. And that's how I chose LPDP, because LPDP at the time was open to applicants who want to study in cultures, social humanities, and religions. That's unfortunately now that's not the case because the policy change.
Right.
Yeah, but just want to know if those who works on LPDP who watch this, maybe you can consider open that opportunities again. But yeah, I chose LPDP, and then when I continued to PhD program in 2018 at the University of Minnesota, I got funding from the university as a graduate assistantship. So I have to teach, and now I'm teaching an online course. In music and movies, and that's how the university funds my study here at the University of Minnesota.
Right. How do you figure out about teaching assistantship or research assistantship that can, fund your studies in the beginning? Is it from the website, or you talk with Alex and Alex just let you know on that, or how did you discover that?
I mostly talk with Alex, and he, I think in the second year of my master's, he offered me an opportunity to be a teaching assistant.
Nice.
Yes,
Okay.
so that was a good chance for me to continue funding my PhD program.
Yeah. So for those of you who it's your first time hearing teaching assistantship or research assistantship, it's very common, especially for a PhD, that university have their own funding for their PhD candidates, especially if it is kind of like research heavy. The more chances that you can think of that they have the funding, because that's the thing, for PhD candidate, you don't really have to rely solely on like LPDP or Fulbright, because the university usually have the funding, but the availability will be varies from one to another university and even from one to another department. So what you want to do here is what Jay would follow what Jay have done. It's like looking at the opportunity from maybe the website, and then talk to the advisor if you already know, if you're already connected. And after this, I'll also ask Rizky. He also have a very interesting, experience for his funding, how to find the funding that he's currently, supported for his study. So Rizky, can you share a bit, because I know that you did not get LPDP or Fulbright.
Right.
And you also, we talked before this, and you mentioned something very interesting, that you do another master dissertation and then apply for the PhD. So that's kind of like what the advisor was suggesting you to do.
Right.
Your current professor, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, please share that, and the funding that you got, which is like teaching and research assistant, which is two of them together. So yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, thank you. So my desire to pursue a higher education, like graduate studies, was like, it was hard for me, because some funding agencies like LPDP or like other Indonesian government institutions, coming from Indonesian government institutions, have that age restriction, whereas I am past that age restriction, right? So my chances was limited because of that. Once I applied for AMINEF, the Fulbright, which didn't have any age restriction. I don't know, maybe they have, I'm not sure, but you can check. The audience can check, right? But I got to the interview stage at that time, which was good, because from hundreds of applicants, then you narrow down into like 10 or so. So I was like one of the 10. But maybe if I failed on the interview, because I mean, looking back at it now, I think that I didn't have any strong vision of what I wanted to do.
Right.
I wasn't able to articulate it right. Okay, so yeah. So okay, that chance is gone, and at the same time came this opportunity from University of Pittsburgh, because Andrew Weintraub, Professor Andrew Weintraub, my professor, whom I knew through meeting at conferences, was interested in looking at new students who can study there, and he encouraged those people, including me, come on, apply. Look, there's a fellowship here for graduate studies. So I did, and luckily I got in. Yeah, so that's how I am funded in terms of how my study is running. But also, one of the things that I noticed from the earlier interview, Skype interview, that time was Skype, right? Skype interview, that, okay, you accepted, and you'll be,
wow,
you'll be going to Pittsburgh, you have these faculties and everything, and they explained about how it works. So in the first 2 years, I have a full fellowship.
Okay, so that
which means that I don't have to teach. I only have to go to classes,
right,
and that's it. Okay. But after the 2 years, I was assigned to teaching assistantship, teaching, TAing, teaching assistant. So in order to get the money, for the same amount of money that I got from full fellowship, so I had to do 2 courses. One was Introduction to World Music, and the other one is Basic Musicianship in Piano. Piano classes it's a popular class, so you get I don't know, about 15 classes of piano, from different students from different departments, right? So I was assigned to that as well, although I am not a pianist. Okay, so because of I see Alex nodding there, but that's the system in the US, right? You assign students to classes that are popular. Jazz history is also a popular class. So yes, we have to teach there as well.
Can you?
Yeah. So in terms of funding, I consider myself as lucky, but those things. So for example, my cohort only have 5 people. Okay. So that's how few it is in University of Pittsburgh. You only get 5 people that are
They're funded.
That are being funded.
So
I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh yeah, I was about to ask you how big is the class that you have to teach, because I think people will be interested to, wow, you're teaching a class. How big is the class?
Right. Okay. That's a good thing, because as I said, introduction to world music or global popular music or jazz history is very popular, and it attracts students, undergrad students from different departments. You get from bioscience, medical people that are interested in world music, and it's not necessary that they have a musical background. Okay, so that's another aspect. So in my case, in University of Pittsburgh, the Introduction to World Music class has 150, 140, 160 students. Okay, that you have a lecture twice a week, and then you have one time recitation. It's called recitation. So you split it into a group of 20 or 25 students, and furthering what we learn from the lecture. So you could have like a practice or like further discussion is another class of its own. So you get that idea of how big the class is. Also in basic musicianship class piano, so you have like 15 to 20 students each class, and you like 10 classes.
Okay. And we're talking about you're teaching the undergrad students.
Yes.
Right? Because you were saying that they don't necessarily have music background. They're maybe in science or other interest of field. Because the thing is, Alex already shared earlier in this talk, is when you are in the bachelor, the difference is they require you to take some art class to explore. Maybe art is your thing, maybe music is your thing, maybe theater is your thing. So they want you to have a taste of everything, a bit of everything to explore. The first 2 years is kind of like the general education, the general study. And I usually talk about that on alternatives, that you don't have to go to 4 years university if you have some limitations or restrictions. You can go to community college, and that's what I love about U.S. education. Of the things that possibilities just I don't see it anywhere else. So that's one of the things that I really love. And thank you for sharing, Risky. That's very insightful. And I want everyone who is watching, who are watching right now, to think that if you cannot get, let's say, LPDP or Fulbright with any restrictions, or I don't know, like if you cannot fulfill their requirements, don't give up on your dreams to take PhD, to study PhD in United States, regardless of its music or not. You can do what Risky was doing, look for other opportunities, and who knows, it's there, even though it's limited. I can ask Alex right now, like how many students got funded for Jay's cohort. I would guess it's not as, the same, or maybe just a bit more than what Risky had in University of Pittsburgh.
Our cohort is a little bigger in the composition class, and we basically don't take students unless we can fund them.
Okay, that's very nice. So
and the funding is pretty full. I mean, all the tuition is paid, and there's a stipend. I mean, the difference is that there are no years where you don't teach. You don't just come in and have 2 years to just take classes. Everybody teaches. And the students who work for me each have almost complete responsibility for their class.
Wow.
Okay, they're not just assisting me. In this rock and roll class, each of them have 30 students who are their responsibility. And Jay taught that class for a long time. And then in the film class, which he also teaches, because there are more writing assignments. The classes are limited to 25 students. I want to say a couple things about this. First of all, both of these are courses in basically American culture. So Jay is teaching American students about American culture.
That's great. That's awesome.
And he's not the only international student we have doing that. In fact, the best TAs we've had in these two classes have been international students.
Wow.
They either knew the culture before they came, or they learned it as they went along. But they were also very conscientious. And Jay's work has been absolutely exemplary. The two classes that my students TA in are both entirely online, and they always have been, even before COVID, which is actually great because they don't have to come to class. They can do everything on their own time, their own scheduling. So that I think that's actually very good. It does mean not so much personal contact with the students, but I think it's still a great teaching experience. And nowadays, of course, with so much online learning, they're way ahead of the game.
Yeah.
But so we've had many international students teaching mostly American students, although we have a lot of international students too, teaching them American culture and bringing their own perspective to American culture, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, me too. I find it very fascinating because, who knows, international students is actually teaching the, Americans, the local students, things about their country, their own country, like, look, America have this, and you were born in America, and then you're like, okay, we have that. Maybe what I was thinking is because if you come from somewhere with different culture, you can see the difference clearer, and maybe that's why you can teach it better, right? That's one of the reasons.
I think there might also be a level of intimidation where here's this guy from Indonesia and he knows more about my culture than I do. Oh my gosh. And I think that's great. Yes. I mean, if you have someone coming from another
country,
I think that one thing that I think is especially to Jay's credit is the film music class, because the films they've got, I don't know how to put this politely, but they've got some very strong content that is certainly doesn't square with what I would think of as, say, especially traditional Muslim values. I mean, there are a number of films there that are kind of shocking, I think you would say, from that perspective. And Jay has really taken control of that and handled it in a fantastic, strong intellectual perspective.
That's great. So I
think it's great.
You mentioned something about kind of like competition and motivation, so that if someone not from America can know so much about my country or my culture, how am I not, motivated to get to know that and learn better?
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's awesome. So I just want to clarify, Jay and Rizky are, you are currently teaching online classes, but Jay also has that's dedicated for online, regardless of the COVID situation. But for Rizky, it was like in-person classes before, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So now they're all online, Rizky?
Yeah. So as Alex was saying that graduate students are assigned to TAing, teaching assistantship. Okay, I'm like one of the few that had a privilege not to do that in the first 2 years, because the department manages funds from everywhere so like students can get fellowship, and I was lucky to have my first 2 years being receiving full fellowship from the University of Pittsburgh. But that actually comes from two sections within the university. First of all, like the Asian Studies. My first year was funded by the Asian Studies Center. My second year was funded by, I forgot. Sorry, the Humanities Department, which is so yeah, I was very lucky to do that. But
you also do
my third year.
Sorry to cut you off. You also assistant, right?
Yeah. My third year, I was assigned to teach, and that was a good experience because we're gonna be scholars. We were projected to be scholars, and we professors. So that was a good experience in dealing with students and managing time to do that. But now in my fourth year, I was trying to do something else, which is I'm helping out research. So sorry, I'm now a research assistant for few faculty members. So I don't teach anymore, but I'm helping out research for professors.
Right. So when any U.S. university says they will fund you, they really mean it. Like they will just, when they say that, like Ala said, his department or his university already, they won't accept students if they don't have the funding.
Hold on.
Yeah.
My program won't do that. Other programs give partial funding or sometimes even no funding.
Yeah. Yes, it will vary depending on the program, depending on the university. So you will have to check on what are the things that they will cover and what they will not cover, how much they will cover. All of that details will entails if you ask for them. If it's not available online, then you can ask for them. Like and Rizky and Jay, they have a different. Even though both of them are funded from the university, they have different what do I call it, structure or system. In a way, Jay started to teach as a teaching assistant from the beginning, but Risky started on the third and then later on, the third year and later on. So it can be different, but what you need to know is once they say they will fund you, that they really mean it. And they also receive stipend as, they waive the tuition fee, and stipend is kind of like your monthly expenses given out to you. It's kind of like in exchange of what you do, like teaching or researching assistant, that they will give to you. So that's the basic of how I would love to explain on how teaching and research assistant work. Sometimes it's hard to grasp if this is your first time hearing it. If you need more details and get to know that part, Education US advisors here to help you. We can go to each of the details for different department, different university, because there's no like one template for every university and department in the United States. It's not like that, because they're just decentralized, and even for even so more for PhD, it's very kind of like personalized. Am I right, Professor Alex?
Yes, and we have programs, not so many in music, like Risky, where the student will enter and not teach for a year or two. We have programs like that too, although in music that's extremely rare.
Yes.
One other thing I would, if I can just bring up a subject, is that our program does not require the GRE.
Wow, that's
which
nice.
is an entrance exam, and that's recent. I mean, I think Jay had to take it, but there are a number of things about the GRE that it's been discovered that it's really not a good indicator of future success, and that it's culturally biased.
Mm-hmm.
And in my program, we just thought it was a waste of time. And plus, if you're in a foreign country, sometimes you have to travel a great distance to get to a center where you can take the exam, you have to pay for it. And we just decided to do away with it as a requirement.
I totally
because we want international students.
And I love that about education, U.S. education, because they will just assess what are the things that the success, a key of success from the student. Like if let's say they ask for 6 things in the requirements, and one of them actually don't play a role to determine if the student will be successful or not, and they'll just take it out, like the GRE in, let's say, your department, right?
I think that's trend, by the way. Those exams are dying out.
Exactly. Yeah,
it's a great thing, I think.
Yeah, I see a lot more and more universities and departments don't require for GRE or GMAT. GMAT is for MBA. If you have questions on that. So GRE is kind of like an English test and a math test altogether.
Yes.
And it's different from TOEFL, IBT, or IELTS because it's not just English. It's in a way like it's testing your English ability beyond on the daily basis. So
yes,
it's not really English proficiency anymore in my what do I call this? In my perspective, because the English is not something that you use on a daily basis. It's different with TOEFL, IBT, and IELTS. So
and also if I might add, in the composition program I'm in now, Alex is right, and also that the program really emphasizes portfolios. So that's how I also got into the program. So Alex really looked into students' portfolios, and at the time I have created a body of work that emphasizes my interest in contemporary music, technology, and disability. And that's why you also don't have to take the GRE test, because portfolios in the composition program at the University of Minnesota are really the main thing to
It's
consider.
absolutely the most important thing. I wanted to mention one thing to go back a little bit, which was that I don't even think Jay was thinking about graduate school until we met. And I actually told him to come. I said, come to Minnesota, get a graduate education. Isn't that correct? I mean, I really just found this guy who I thought was incredibly talented and just said, come.
Yeah. I didn't really have at the time. I didn't really have like big interest to continue to master's program or a graduate program,
Right.
but my interest and my expertise in contemporary music and technology led me to some opportunities to meet those who are experts for that, including how it came to be at the international workshop, where I and Alex met at that time.
Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you so much on sharing on, how you guys met and how you guys actually, make it work until now. And it was amazing to see that. So the key takeaways that I can get from, Jay and Alex and Risky on how they find their, professor and funding is actually be active in what you are doing. So if you're doing music, dwell into it, like go to the workshop, go to what Risky went to just now when you said you saw this opportunity of the PhD program and everything. Just be active in workshop, in research, in whatever you're doing for the field that you want. And, look up for the opportunities, make connections. You never know, like what Jay and Alex have here. You will never know. So just, keep your eyes open on the opportunities and take it when it's just in front of you, okay? And I would love to have, because I know Alex have been preparing to share one of your composition and something you do with Jay, right?
Yeah.
We could share that really quick whenever you're ready. And after that, I think because we only have a few minutes left, because time really flies, I wish we have more time to talk about maybe your research and everything like that. But maybe this can also serve as a test for you if you are interested in what they're doing. Go ahead online and look up what they're doing. Like search their name, it will pop up, and just get to know what they're doing and what they did on the past. It will be all there, okay? And you can also contact them if you find the contact information. And Alex will share one or two pieces of the compositions and work with Jay, and you can explain a bit more on, the composition and everything. And after that, we will close it with a message that you want to deliver for Indonesians and other international students who is, watching this, and maybe prospective students for, studying music, especially PhD in the United States. All right. Whenever you're ready, Alex.
Okay. I think that it would be, given the limited time, I'm not going to play one. I'm going to play one of Jay's compositions.
Okay.
And I have a new CD coming out in a few weeks.
Yeah.
And it's a CD where I perform on this very American instrument called the mountain dulcimer.
Wow.
But even though it's a very American instrument, lots of Asian musicians love it.
Wow.
When they are introduced to it. So Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and Indonesian composers have all written music for this
Okay, it's my first time.
instrument because of me. And
Love it.
they've all written pieces for me. And the album is coming out, and it's mostly my own music, but there's one piece by my wife,
Wow.
who's a Japanese American from Hawaii. And then there's one piece by Jay. And I have played other pieces by students,
Okay.
but this is the best and my favorite. And it's called Gunung Singalong, which means, since for those of you who don't know Indonesian, that's Mount Singalong. It's in Sumatra, right? Is that correct? It's where your dad is
That's
from.
correct. Yeah, from
And
West
one of the
Sumatra.
things that Jay has always emphasized when talking about Indonesia is that it's not all gamelan. There are lots of other kinds of music too.
Agree.
And that you should know those. And so this piece is based on a style from Sumatra. And when Jay's wife hears it, she says it reminds her of home. So I'm going to play a little bit of this piece for you. And it's on CD. If you have iTunes or Naxos or Spotify, you'll be able to hear this soon.
Yes.
You don't have to buy it or anything. So here we go. This is the beginning of that. And that's about half. And it goes on. Thank you. Yeah, I love this piece. I've played it all over the United States. I played it in Canada. I played it in China, all over. And I recorded it. So, yeah, you won't get your advisor to do that all the time, but I did that.
Thank
because
you.
I have a great student.
Thank you so much for sharing that even before we can, have it ready for public.
Yes.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I think this also answer one of the questions that come into our social media platform, which is from Farmawati Torang in YouTube, sorry. For Professor Alex, actually, she or he asked if how much, it's in Bahasa Indonesia, so I'm just going to translate it real quick here. How much do you know Indonesian music, including the traditional ones, so far in your dalam bidang yang ditekuni selama ini? So as long as your music and teaching career, how far you know Indonesian music, including the traditional one, and you explain it before you actually perform this, that you know a lot from Jay, because he shared that there's so much more, right?
I'm not expert by any stretch of the imagination, but through partly just chance, when the first records of Indonesian music came out in the United States about 50 years ago, I was working in a record store, and we were able to get these records very inexpensively. So I got some music from Bali and from Java. And so I've been listening to Indonesian music. I started about 50 years ago. In the 60s, I had the opportunity to work with a gamelan in Chicago and a couple of other gamelans as well, all Javanese, which are the most popular in the United States. So I wrote a couple of compositions that were played by gamelans in the US. Eventually, I got invited to go to Taiwan and have a gamelan piece played there. What was interesting was that at the university in Taiwan, they had two departments. They had the Department of Chinese Music and the Department of Western Music. And the gamelan was part of the Department of Western Music because it wasn't Chinese, which I thought was extremely interesting. I never thought of it that way.
Okay.
So that piece was written for a Balinese gamelan angklung, which is not very well known in the United States.
Right.
And so I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I've had the interest goes back a very long time.
I can.
So that's why so you come and you teach me. It's really important. We learn from each other. Okay, we're all students.
Yes. And that's one of, what I like to highlight. If anyone wants to go to US to study, it's kind of like a give and take relationship. It's not just like you take the knowledge and skills, but you also bring your value as Indonesian, as, your culture, your knowledge from here, from where you were born and raised and everything like that to United States. And Alex just gave a perfect example, like, come and teach me, like, what Indonesian music is all about. And although he already knows so much.
Not really.
Yeah. That's I think that's one of your takeaway message for all of the Indonesian prospective students and international students. What about from Jay and Rizky? Any last message for young Indonesians or musicians or artists who wants to go to US to follow your footsteps?
I think first and foremost, if you have your interest in music, although it's very specific, just go for it. For example, for your information, I'm now researching besides like contemporary music and music technology, music disability, and in this my PhD research, I'm researching about making music for people with different hearing and listening abilities or profiles. So basically, I really want to research about how do we make music for orally diverse people or audiences, and that's from what it sounds very specific, but just go for it if you like it, if you really have some interest that really
drives you.
It's really worth, and then there are so many ways to connect with professors. So just keep really try to maintain your work, try to maintain your relationship professionally or academically elsewhere, anywhere. So so if you find that opportunity, you should go for it.
Don't think twice, right? Take it.
All
right. Thank you, Jay. And what about Rizky? Any last message before I close this out?
Yeah, I'm just reflecting on my case. It took me I'm still amazed. How did I get here in this academic world, right? Because you never know your chances. I was just a performer, but once you have this passion to look deep into what you love, music in this case, and can take it further into the critical level. Critical, I mean scrutinizing it in a academic manner or a critical manner, for example. And when you reach that stage, just go further than that. Just keep on doing it because I think it's an important aspect in talking about music, because I don't know, this is something that you learn from ethnomusicology, the standpoint, but it's also Alex and Jay would also agree that music is part of the society. It relates very, very closely, very, very closely to the society. And studying music is studying your society, whatever it is. It's not necessarily about traditional music or contemporary music, but it runs into every aspect of the society: politics, economy, ethics, religion. So our contribution in the field of music and the society is, it's very, very relevant. So if you're into that, just go further than that and just keep on doing that, and it will lead you to something that like me, I never knew I was going to do this, but then our path led me to meeting with music scholars and going to conference, and here I am at Pittsburgh doing my PhD.
All right. Thank you so much, Rizky, for sharing that. And I'm glad that you you took the step, right, to go further, like what you said. So the key takeaways is, be active in what you are doing and dig deeper, like what Rizky did. Take the chance, like what Jay did. When the opportunity comes, when any professor or advisor is, asking for you to, give it a try. Go for the PhD. Just take it, because you never know, right? If it's the best decision that you can make. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Thank you so much, Alex, Jay, and Rizky, for sharing your journey and your experiences. We are all very happy to, learn from you, and we hope that this will be encouraging for everyone who wants to study to US, especially in music and for the PhD program in the United States. All right, I will give it back to At America team.
Okay, I would like to say thank you to our speakers and moderator for the amazing discussion. And I would like to remind you all, don't be afraid to pursue your dream to study music in the United States. You can always ask our Education USA advisors. And now earlier in the event, I asked you guys an icebreaker question. And that question was, which American musician will hold a record release live stream at the Forum in Los Angeles on October 2nd? Is it A, Corey Taylor, B, Randy Blythe, C, Jonathan Davis, or D, Howard Jones? And the correct answer is A, Corey Taylor. Unfortunately, nobody got the answer correct for tonight, but if you would like to participate in more quizzes, we always have one at the beginning of our event, so stay tuned for our events in the future. And now you might be wondering, how can you develop an awesome idea for a place like this? Well, wonder no more. You can come straight to our website at www.atamerica.or.id, click Create an Event, and then collaborate with us and submit your proposal there. All proposals will be reviewed, and your event might just end up here very soon. While you're on our website, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter so you can get information about our upcoming events sent straight to your inbox. Well, it has been fun, folks. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and also follow us on social media to follow us on our info on upcoming events. And we would like to thank everyone for tuning in, and we hope to see you again at the next At America TV event.